Hello, my name is Coolcross, and I will be your archaeologist for this evening. I guess I'm currently alone, but others might join me along the way. Today's episode, episode 9, didn't think we'd get this far, but yeah, you know, breaking our record every week. Um, we will be discussing the High Medieval period. This period lasts between the 11th century, so around 1000, up until 1250. So it's about yeah, there about 300 years, and it is kind of the middle part of the Middle Ages, you could say, I guess. Uh, so yeah, it's like the height when it was medieval period was kind of at the best of medieval times. Um, it is the beginning of my area of interest, I suppose. My area of interest being specifically later medieval period, which is a combination of high medieval and the period that follows immediately after it, the late medieval period. So, yeah. So now we're kind of getting into my interest. Um, so where to start is the question. So I suppose because we're doing high medieval, specifically Ireland, we're going to be veering slightly outside of it, but it's only to provide context. And yeah, so beginning with, I guess, Geraldus Cambrensis. As you can see in the background, we have a nice um, image, illuminated image, I guess, from Geraldus Cambrensis' Topographica Hibernia, or The History and Topography of Ireland by Gerald de Barry, um, aka Gerald of Wales. It depicts the scene immediately after the a king has copulated with a white mare. The white mare is then butchered and boiled, and the king bathes in the broth while feeding the meat of the mare to his followers. So yeah, it is quite an interesting kingship ceremony. Yeah, looking through the book here. See, is there anything to hand? Oh yes, I have a little image here somewhere. We have a nice, interesting thing that I thought the guys would find interesting, but there's no one here. Of a bishop of Ossory with two werewolves, uh, which I thought was a interesting story that Geraldus has included in this manuscript. But yeah, this manuscript is important specifically because this is our kind of the a piece that is written at the time that we are discussing this book, been written sometime around what 12 1223. Oh, hang on, trying to find the date of the book. This book is written by Gerald de Barry around the time. Trying to find the exact date in the book. Can you hear me quickly jumping through pages? It could be 1150 ish. I think it's 1150. I'm trying to remember. But yeah, let's just say circa 1150. And yeah, it depicts a lot of interesting topics about, although propaganda, anti-Irish propaganda, that is about what's going on in Ireland at the time by a, and when I say English, I don't literally mean that they are from England. In fact, the Anglo-Normans are French. But yes, Gerald de Barry was a Anglo-Norman, and we will discuss in momentarily as to what exactly that it is. But for now, we'll just discuss how that came about. And Geraldus conveniently has an image for me of Dermot McMurrough. So yeah, Dermot McMurrough, who was King of Leinster. He had a rival, like a great rival, named Rory O'Connor, and Rory O'Connor was High King of Ireland. So yeah, Dermot had a disagreement with Rory in that over a woman, and yeah, it didn't end well for Dermot. In fact, he lost his kingdom of Leinster, um, and got deposed by the High King Rory O'Connor, and decided that yeah, he's not going to let that stand, and he's going to possibly look to a powerful military force that happens to be nearby. You know, those guys, those guys over there. You know, those guys over in England, those Normans. You know, led by this miniature model enthusiast, Henry II of England, and the Angevin Empire. At the time, the Angevin Empire wouldn't have included Ireland, but yeah, it extended from the Bordeaux region of France all the way up to Normandy and England, basically, taking in bits of Wales, and yeah, it was quite large, and they were quite known for the use of heavy cavalry in that full chainmail and heavy horse and whatnot. And yeah, so who are the Normans? They are these French guys who have invaded England in 1066 and have been conquering England all this time, and probably parts of France, let's be honest. But yeah, they control half of France, which later would cause an issue with later kings, Henry V being one of them, and the 100 Years' War would be brought up over this issue. But yeah, the Angevin Empire was founded by Henry II. I think it was Henry II. Yes, it was Henry II, because Henry II was King of England, and he married Eleanor of Aquitaine, and that's how he acquired the Aquitaine. That was the name. Yeah, okay. But yeah, he never really spent much time in England, because when I was in school, we were taught about the Normans. It was often taught that Henry would have lived in like London in the tower, in his great castle, the Tower, known as the Tower of London, that is. But in fact, Henry didn't really stay much there at all. He in fact stayed in France most of his life. I'm trying to find, what is the capital of Angevin? Is it Caen? Angers and Caen. Angers and Caen. I'm not sure how to pronounce those words. But yeah, he spent a lot of his time in France. And because he was like at war with the King of France quite often. The ex-husband of his wife. So there was a bit of a rivalry going on between the two husbands of Eleanor, and Eleanor being caught in the middle. In fact, Henry's sons were often at war with Henry as well. His mother being, or the mother being his wife / and the mother of the kids being the mediator between all of the family and the rioting going on. Henry's sons being, I think the first one was Joffrey, but he died, and then the guy who inherited the kingdom after him would have been Richard, Richard the Lionheart, and King John is the other brother of Robin Hood fame. He's often depicted as the bad guy in Robin Hood. But yeah. So yeah, Dermot needing some good soldiers to help him out, like wanders over to France. Well, first through Pembroke, because Pembroke and Bristol are on the western coast of England, and through there, finding out where the king is. He's in France, wanders off to France and meets up with King Henry and makes an arrangement with him that he will help him. In fact, Henry is glad because Henry has a problem with a certain individual named where is his name? Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Richard de Clare, who often sometimes is known as Strongbow. So Richard de Clare at some point had a disagreement with Henry, King Henry, and Henry wasn't too fond of him, so he kind of liked to get rid of him and send him as far away as he could from him, so he didn't have to look at him or speak to him. So Henry, or Richard, the second Earl of Pembroke, is kind of off in Wales and hanging around, just being a bit of a nuisance for Henry. So Henry's like, right, you go and get this guy, Richard. And so he sends Dermot to go and get Richard and a bunch of men, and they can go and then invade Ireland and just, well, not invade Ireland, but help Dermot reconquer his land. And yeah, this is the beginning, as you can see, of how the English ended up in Ireland. It's a bit of a little misunderstanding in that when let's get rid of this here a second. When Richard, this is actually the seal of Richard de Clare. When Richard de Clare takes the land back for Dermot, Dermot makes Strongbow, Richard de Clare, his heir, and marries off his daughter Aoife to Richard, and thus Richard de Clare becomes king of Leinster eventually, and Henry didn't quite like this, and ends up showing up in Ireland not too long later in about see if I can find Henry's trip to Ireland. Henry's trip to Ireland, invasion of Ireland, blah blah blah. Is it here? Yeah, in 1167, King Henry agreed to allow Dermot to recruit mercenaries within his empire. Yeah, I think it's around 1170-ish is when they arrive in Ireland, and then at some point, Henry himself, in anger that Richard de Clare is becoming a bit of a king in his own, trying to be a king in his own right over in Ireland, so he wanders over with his massive army and gets him to pay homage to him, and then while he's at it, decides to get some of the other Irish kings to pay homage to him. So yeah, it thus began the Norman invasion of Ireland. So yeah, I didn't really want to go into too much on that, because normally we just discuss this after that, but yeah, I kind of kept it short and sweet, and maybe a bit too short and yeah. Oh yeah, interesting fact. the successor to Strongbow was in fact William, our successor of Strongbow, as being Earl of Pembroke, was William Marshall. That would be the great William Marshall, as in the man who's credited with being the greatest knight who ever lived. Yeah, William Marshall, in fact, had at one point owned Trim Castle, I think. But yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for watching. If you fancy donating, there is a link below to my Streamlabs. And yeah. Oh, I almost forgot. I've been taking part in Stu's Star Wars game every Monday over on Stu's channel. There is a link below, and I have been uploading content. What was the word I was using? Exclusive content is now available over on my BitChute channel, link below, where I have been taking part in some other games, or I've been playing in Han's 40k game, Only War 40k, as a squad machine gunner, and I have been taking part. I've been running a 5e D&D all commoner module for some of the guys. That it's actually been quite popular, surprisingly. Where the party is North FC themed for some reason, but yeah, I ran with it because that's what they wanted to do. But yeah, more stuff coming, possibly, and yeah, thanks for watching. See you all next time. Bye.